All right, what is up, everyone? Thank you so much for being here. Let's give a round of applause to our amazing group of titans, Jewish warriors we have up here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zach Sage Fox. I am a producer, a comic, and a CEO of a really cool media company where we make viral videos, TV shows, movies for Hulu, HBO, Amazon, and as you guys see, we've been very active forming partnerships with nonprofits. We have our own nonprofit. We're trying to really push against this awful wave of anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism we've seen. So yeah, it's an honor to be with so many of these guys here on stage right now because they are all warriors on the front line. So let's start with Roz Rothstein, co-founder of Stand With Us, an amazing organization, an international organization that supports Israel and fights anti-Semitism for almost 25 years, and she has been the CEO as well. Next, we have Shoham Nicolet, co-founder and former CEO of the IAC, a social entrepreneur with expertise in project-based learning and educational technology. Next, we have Rudy Rochman, a good friend of mine. Let's give it up for Rudy. Rudy is a leading Jewish rights activist, founder of Global Grassroots Movement, executive producer of We Were Never Lost. He was a reservist sniper in the IDF paratroopers and a powerful voice shaping Jewish advocacy for the next generation. And at the end, we have Keren Dahan, a seasoned leader with a rich background in international education and nonprofit management for the past 5 years. She has also served as the CEO of SAR-El, the National Project for Volunteers for Israel. All right, guys, so why don't we just start off? I'd love each of you to go and just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got your start in activism. Do we have enough mics for? Okay, cool.
We do.
Awesome. Great.
I don't know that it works. Does it work?
It sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay.
Let it rip.
So 25 years ago, I'm a daughter of Holocaust survivors, and the Second Intifada began, and there were a number of things that were very troublesome about, besides all the murder going on in Israel. We had media that was twisting everything that we were reading, just like the way we get upset about media right now. We had the murders themselves, the targeting of Jewish people. We had a Jewish world that was pretty silent outside of Israel. They were very, you would be outraged. Shalhevet Pas was murdered in March of 2001. She was 1 year old, and she was murdered in Hebron, and there was no outrage. So there were a few things going on that were very wrong and weird, and so we wanted to know if anything was going on with the Jewish community, and in fact we found out nobody had budget, nobody had strategy, and so 25 years ago, even with rising anti-Semitism already on the college campuses, there wasn't really a plan going on, so nobody was doing what Stand With Us would become.
I must say that knowing Stand With Us for 25 years, it's probably the most fighting pro-Israel organizations we have, and due to Roz, Esther, and others, really an incredible organization and a great partner for the IAC, I think, from very, very early years. So my personal story starts, again, 25 years ago, 2000. I came to the US for 1 year as a student after my service as an officer at the IDF, knowing nothing about America, knowing nothing about Jewish America. And actually I was involved with education technologies, and I got a scholarship to come to learn in the University, American Jewish University in LA. At the same time studying in UCLA online learning, and came to the US for business, technology, and then I'm coming to a Jewish institution, and it might sound weird to you, but I learned two things I've never knew before. First of all, I didn't know that not all Jewish Americans love Israel. It was very surprising to me. And also, I was sure that everyone knows about Israel. And in 2000, also, the Second Intifada, being an officer, knowing the truth, I just started organically just to tell the truth, just to share what I know. And that turned into activism. And then in 2006, the summer of 2006, Second Lebanon War. Now it's better? Wait. Second Lebanon War, there was a big rally in LA on Wilshire, but the Israeli-American community didn't show up. And then a group of us came together and said, okay, what can we do about it? And this is where the idea of the IHC was born. And 18 years later, you can look around, and you're all part of this big activist pro-Israel movement.
It's very impressive.
So thank you everyone for coming here. I'll share quickly what my personal story is that made me an activist. And I think like many Jews born in the diaspora, we all come from a plethora of different backgrounds and experiences. I was born in France. My mother's side of the family were born in Morocco and Algeria. My father's side of the family in Poland and Belgium. When I was 3, my family moves to Israel. When I was 5, my family moves to Miami. And growing up here in Miami, no one's American. You're Argentinian, Venezuelan, Colombian, Haitian, Jamaican, everything else but American. So all of a sudden in Miami, I'm the French kid. In France, I'm the American cousin. My dad's Ashkenazi, my mom's Sephardi. My dad jokes that he converted to Sephardi when he married my mom, so Baruch Hashem, I was raised Sephardi. And constantly, whenever I'm asked, who are you and where are you from, I'm expected to give a different answer. And already at a young age, I knew that I was connected to Israel and to the Jewish people, but I didn't know how to explain it to others. And something happened to me as a 7-year-old, funny enough, also in 2000. I took a trip to London with my mom and my younger brother, and we got onto the red tour bus that does a tour of London. My mom was wearing a shirt in Hebrew that said Emet, truth, and we got onto the bus, and the bus driver, who ends up being a neo-Nazi, sees my mom's shirt and says, excuse me, is that written in Jewish? Mom says, no, it's written in Hebrew, but it's the language of the Jewish people, that's what you're asking. He's like, oh, so you guys are Jews? He's like, yeah, we're Jews, what's the problem? He's like, get off my bus, I don't want any Jews. And my mom said, I don't know who you think you are, we're not getting off this bus, we're not Jews that are afraid. And the man got up, grabbed my mom, and threw her off. And in that moment, everything inside of me changed. Because I realized that in that moment, I did not have the tools. I did not know how to speak, how to deal with the situation emotionally, intellectually, even ideologically, understanding why these things are happening. And this moment did 2 things for me. The first thing, it made me realize that it doesn't matter where I was born, grew up, lived in, traveled to, reside in, what passport I have, where my parents were born, where my grandparents were born. What mattered was that I was a Jew. And the second thing that this moment did for me is it made me promise that the next time I would see any form of injustice, especially if it's against my people, I would know who I am and I would be ready to fight.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody. So my story is I was born in France also, raised in France. No one is perfect. You can hear my French accent.
Why'd you leave? I can't imagine why a Jew would leave France.
As a kid, we were attacked in a anti-Semitism accident, and it's really changed my world. And my parents decided that we need to move to Israel. And these incidents really gave me the vision of what I want to do כשאני אהיה גדולה, when I will be big, what I'm going to do. And in all of my professional way, in everywhere that I went, every achievement that I had, I always wanted to do everything to not feel that a sense of weight like I was when I was a kid, when my family was hurt. And I decided that everything that I will do as a fight, not to be afraid. And as well, when I started 5 years ago, this is a place I understand. This is not only a volunteering movement. This is a asset for the state of Israel, and this is where I'm going to be the most meaningful role that I can have to educate people and to give them the knowledge and the tools to get back to their community with the things that I learned when I was a kid.
Amazing. So, okay, the panel is called Youth Unleashed, which I think can mean 2 things. 1, how do we unleash our youth to go fight the bad actors? But 2, there's been youth unleashed against us. So I'm curious why each of you thinks there has been this mass movement of anti-Semitism that it really is largely being propagated from the youngest people in the Western world. To me, it seems like social media is the clear culprit because 20 years ago, China, Iran, all these bad faith actors who wanted to sow division in the West and Israel, they didn't have a way to reach people. And all of a sudden, TikTok, the CCP pumps that thing out and puts it into the hands of tens and tens of millions. But obviously, I come from a social media perspective. I'm so curious what you guys think is the root cause, specifically of young people leading this wave of hate. Let's start. Yeah, we'll go in order.
So my mother would say that she's a Holocaust survivor. She would say that anti-Semitism is a virus that morphs through the ages, and that if you scratch the surface and give people an opportunity, they will show their anti-Semitism right away. So this is what she would say. We have bad actors out there that are organizing campaigns against the Jewish people and against Israel. I mean, we all know this. And they do it in different ways. They do it on social media. They do it on college campuses. Tell me, how is it possible that on October the 8th, Students for Justice in Palestine received a toolbox that was ready-made, ready to go, and we received it also because we have our ways. And so we could see that it was across the country and around the world, the toolbox, how you bring the intifada, how you attack, how do you justify Hamas's actions? The whole thing there, right on October 8th. How is that possible? Because there are bad actors pushing out bad ideas. But, we have the responsibility to respond. We have the responsibility to make sure that our kids, our students, our communities are able to respond to the bad actors and what they're saying, make sure we are offering pride and role modeling pride for our students, and making sure that they're knowledgeable so that they can bring light to conversations. We're an education organization, so that's a priority for us. We want to make sure that they can have those conversations on college campuses and high schools, and make sure that the truth doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
So do you think college campuses, is that one of the biggest culprits?
It's not that the college campus is the culprit, it's that there's bad actors feeding strategy to bad actors on college campuses, and then the bad actors influence and infiltrate everyday students who think, oh wow, this sounds like a great social justice movement. I want to be part of it. I want to do something really good in my life. And so they join this, and it becomes the far left and the far right unifying and getting married in some strange way because they have the hatred of Jews and the hatred of Israel in common. And here we are stuck in the middle and very vulnerable if we don't have information.
Right. And you have actual bad actors like Cynthia Nixon coming at us too. All right, Shoham, what do you think? Why specifically is this such a youth-driven hate movement?
I think I felt the big shift started 2020 during COVID.
Interesting.
Because I think this was the pivot before October 7th wasn't by design. It was by design by Hamas. But what happened in 2020 during COVID, with the push of ethnic studies in California, with the push of whatever we spoke about, all of us, about college campuses for 25 years, suddenly you've seen it in middle schools, high schools, elementary schools. Suddenly you see it in curriculums by states. This is where that got scary. Because before that, these were organizations on campuses funded who knows by whom. But now it became part of the system. You'd go and look at who's on the education committee in California is writing a curriculum about ethnic studies, which, by the way, has nothing with Israel and the Middle East. And you go there to the committee, and you don't need to be very brilliant to see that there's someone that is taking their photos by the fence in Israel, and you don't need to be very sophisticated to see who they're funded by. And I think this was the shift where we've seen that it's part of the system, that you see suddenly kids asked to write essays why Israel is preventing Palestinians from having vaccinations for COVID. And this is where I felt there's this shift. And And I think that the other shift when you talk about TikTok is TikTok, yes, it made us connected, but it's also created the biggest pandemic of isolation.
Ah, interesting.
And this vacuum of teens, because I'm talking about even younger age, they started to feel isolation, loneliness, exactly the opposite of what we were thinking. And this vacuum, I believe, got lots of junk into it. And I think this is also the opportunity, and we'll talk about it later, when you can take this vacuum and you can create a sense of identity and belonging to our people and to Israel, and I think that this is also the solution.
Cool. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper, and I agree with my panelists as to how practically anti-Semitism is happening, but I want to address why. And this is something a lot of us in this time are not speaking about. You know, growing up, as I experienced anti-Semitism, I kept asking my community leaders, my teachers, why are we always hated? From the far right, they blame us for being the left. The far left, they blame us for being the right. The black supremacists, the Farrakhan's, they blame us for being the source of all problems. The white supremacists were the source of all problems. The secular people, they hate us. The religious people, they hate us. Literally any and every extreme on any platform, we are the one thing that they all agree on, and that the Jews are the source of the problem. So I was asking myself, why? And I kept hearing excuses. Well, it's because they're jealous of us. Well, there were times in Jewish history where we weren't successful and we were still hated. There are many communities that are extremely successful. Singapore, one of the most successful countries that are new. No one's hating on the Singaporeans. The most successful demographic groups in America today that are recent immigrants are Nigerians, Koreans, and Indians. I don't see any encampments, any boycotts, any protests against those communities. In New York City, we're 13% of the population, and yet over 60% of total hate crimes are targeted specifically against Jews. So it can't just be about jealousy and its success. The second out of the three excuses that I was always hear is, well, we other ourselves. We have our own schools, our own community centers, our own cemeteries, but so do the Amish, and so do the Armenians, and so do the Muslims, and so do many other communities. And the last excuse I would always hear is, well, we have this dual loyalty. Because we're loyal first to a Jewish world or to Israel, that's why people condemn us. But growing up in Miami, every time there's Olympics or the World Cup, it's always Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia. No one's going at them and saying, you guys are traitors. So I realized that we're asking ourselves the wrong question. It's not what did we do that caused anti-Semitism. The real question is, what didn't we do? And in order to understand what we didn't do, we need to remember that as a collective, as a nation, we have a mission statement. Tikkun olam and or lagoim. To heal the world wherever there's hatred, jealousy, materialism, famine, idolatry, we need to heal this world. And or lagoim, light to the nations, is not a light for ourselves and other people who want to be like us. It's we have to go out there and turn on the light where the world is living in darkness. If the world was a body, and every nation has their own function, the only thing in the human body that heals the body and empowers the other organs to fulfill their potential is the immune system. When the immune system doesn't do its job, the body becomes sick. It is not the immune system that created the diseases, but it was the immune system's responsibility to prevent it. It is not us Jews that created the world's problems, but the reason why all these extreme groups that are hurting inside are blaming us for the source of the problem is because deep down subconsciously on a soul level they recognize that we need to be the source of the solution. Anti-Semitism, at the end of the day, is a rejection and a reaction to the Jewish people failing our purpose. And just because we help a little bit in Haiti after earthquake, or in Mexico, and we created some cherry tomatoes, or some cool technology, our standard of where we need to be is over here, we need to be over here. Anything less than achieving Mashiach, a human recalibration of spiritual and physical, and fixing this world is Jewish failure.
Thank you, Rabbi Rudy.
For what I see, from my point of view, I think that the waves of anti-Semitism, as all of you said, was here. But in the last 2 years, it's more than ever because lack of knowledge. I think there is a big vacuum to the young generation. They want to belong to something. They want to be part of something. And it's very sexy to go to the street and yell Free Palestine and to belong to a movement that is very activist. So it's very, very attracting to the new generation, to the young people to go to the street and to be anti-Semitism. But they don't have the knowledge and the understanding of what does that mean. And we see it in the social when we are asking them which river, which sea, why are you hating? They don't know how to answer. They just want to repeat what they see in social. So I think that more knowledge, more education, more explanation can be a good thing. More than that, we are giving them in Sorel a check of reality. You think that you are a Jew, we think that we are A, B, C. Come, we invite you. We open the door to the reality of Israel. You will be staying in an IDF base, you will be speaking with the soldiers, and there is no better way than face-to-face and to come and to see the reality. We have nothing to hide. Everything is open. You are just welcome to see exactly what are we doing.
Amazing. So I'm curious, and we don't need to have the longest answers on this one, but anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism, right? That's the kind of new lexicon that our enemies are throwing in our face, including my favorite, Mr. Mamdani. I can't think of another word for I just hate the Chinese government, not Chinese people, or I just hate Mexico, I don't hate Mexican. You can't think of another word for it, which I think tells you it's bullshit. But I'm so curious what you guys feel about that. Are there, because obviously we have to allow people to criticize the Israeli government, or else that's not right either. So what do you guys think? How do we separate anti-Zionism versus anti-Semitism? And more importantly, how do we talk about that when we're confronted with that split from people like Mamdani and other Jew haters?
You're right about the BS word.
Yeah.
It is one and the same. I would just tell you a quick story to answer the question.
Yeah.
I was sitting in an Uber, and the driver was from Turkey, and I think he saw my star, and he said, my daughter just found out that she's 30% Israeli. And I said, 30% Israeli. I said, do you mean Jewish? And he said, yeah, Jewish, Israeli, what's the difference? So this
Rudy would say that, though, actually, they are the same.
Yeah, they are the same.
Yeah.
They are exactly the same. So I said, okay, this is other people defining us.
Right.
This is other people telling us who we are. If you are a Zionist, you believe in the establishment of the Jewish country in the area where our ancestral homeland is. And so you're not entitled to that. You're not entitled to be a Jew and love the country that is the only Jewish country in the world. It's your identity. So we're being attacked on our identity when they say they're not anti-Jewish, they're anti-Zionist. Well, wait a second. You're attacking my very identity. So it's one in the same, and that's the way we teach it, and that's the way it is.
Right.
So, again, I've been dealing with this for 25 years, but I must tell you that October 8th was the first time I felt it.
Yeah.
Even during our rallies, and we are being chanted, that we'll throw you to the ovens and stuff in 2008, in 2014. I didn't feel it. In October 8th, I felt it, and why? Because I'm a graduate of GSB of Stanford, and we are on WhatsApp groups, and we start to get reports from Stanford. And I was thinking to myself, if October 7th would happen in any place in the world, would anyone have the guts to come and say, listen, they raped women, but they murdered baby, but they burned people, but it's okay because it depends on the context. Never you could be justified to go on a Stanford campus or any other campus and justify something that is black and white, immoral. And only when it comes to Israel, I'm telling you, 25 years, I was shocked. I was shocked that it was legit to give explanation why October 7th has some context, has some explanation. And this is where it was clear to me, as someone that advocates for many years that anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, it's exactly the same for 25 years. This is where I deeply felt it, and I think that there is no separation, just like Roz said, to the other side. There is no reason for us to separate the two.
Yeah, amazing. I think even to piggyback off that, I just interviewed a woman in a new video I have coming out, and she said she hates all Zionists. And I said, how many Jews do you think are Zionists? She said, well, probably 70%. So I say, so you only hate 70% of Jews. And it just goes to that. You can't separate the two.
So I think this was already addressed by my panelists, so I'll maybe go into how we can deal with when someone is anti-Zionist. I remember when I was a student at Columbia, I had a class that I had to take called University Studies. And because I was a transfer student, every transfer student needs to take this class. You don't get a grade, it's pass or fail based on attendance, twice a week, and it teaches you how to study, how to talk to your advisor, how to email your professor. And I'm sitting in this class realizing, what am I doing here? It's such a waste of time. You know, for Israelis, when we see a line, we go to the front, we don't go to the back. So right away, I'm thinking, how am I gonna get out of this class? And I sign in my name one day, and I see the person next to me, David Goldstein. I'm like, okay, this guy's for sure Jewish. I pass the sheet over, I'm like, hey David, are you Jewish? He's like, yeah, so? Relax, relax, I'm Jewish too. I'm like, listen, I have a deal for you. One day you're gonna sign me in, I'm not gonna come. The next day I'll sign you in, we're not gonna come, and we're gonna cut 50% of these classes. Eventually we found someone to sign us in, and we never came to that class again. And one day he invites me over to his apartment, and we start talking, and he's like, why did you come to Columbia? I said, well, I typed in #1 most anti-Semitic university in North America. Columbia University was the #1, so I came here to stand up, to change the culture here. And he responds by saying, look, I like you as a person, but I'm not a fan of the apartheid, the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, the colonization, the settlements, which is very interesting because that's what Western countries did to the world. And the far left of the West feels so guilty for the crimes of their ancestors that rather than looking in the mirror and correcting what they've inherited, they're pushing off their white guilt and blaming the Jewish people for what they actually have done into this world. But instead of getting upset and rejecting him and screaming and projecting this negativity, I started asking questions. Well, tell me a little bit about you. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? He said, oh, I was born and raised in the Bay Area. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But before that, your grandparents and your great-grandparents, it's like, oh, the Soviet Union, Georgia, Russia, Ukraine. I'm like, okay, interesting. And before that? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, Jews didn't just pop out of nowhere. He's like, no, we probably converted to Judaism. I was like, you mean to tell me in the Soviet Union that if someone did a bracha that would be sent to a work camp to the death, that hundreds of thousands of people were converting to Judaism? When you can trace the linguistic history, the genetic history, the anthropology, you can trace actually where this population comes from. And all of a sudden he realized that he was a part of a greater story, that there was something different in the narrative that was given to him. He started getting involved with our movement, became an ambassador, became a board member, and after a year, he said, Rudy, I have to take a break from Columbia. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I have to go do something now that if I don't do it now, I won't get another chance to do it. I'm like, Achi, what is it? He's like, I have to go join the army in Israel.
Wow. Dang.
To conclude, whenever we're faced with someone that's against Israel, against the Jewish people, whether Jewish or non-Jewish, we need to all remember that there's a reason why we were put in that very moment. There could have been a Jew against Israel that would have been in that moment. The Dafka, we are in that moment. So that is the moment that we need to correct the situation, to heal, and not be an extension of the negativity that we see.
Amazing. Wait, Rudy, I have a quick question. Do you think that we should throw out the word Zionist? Like, if we're all just Jews and the in modern day Zionism is being weaponized against us, do we stop giving into their narrative?
No, I don't think we need to stop using word because they're against us, but at the end of the day, to be a Jew, a Hebrew, an Israelite, these are all synonyms of the same people.
Yeah.
But the goals of Zionism was to return to Zion, which we did in '67. Now our generation needs to have a conversation of what's the next chapter of Jewish history. Where are we now going towards in the future?
Cool. Love it. Karen, what do you think?
So I think it's okay to criticize what Israel is doing. What is not okay is to make a question about the existence of the state of Israel. And the border here, it's very, very tangible. And I see very closely as leading an organization that connects the IDF to the worldwide people and Jewish and not Jewish, how this border is being very flexible, and a lot of times what started was a legitimate dialogue. It's becoming very, very quickly an accusation against the state of Israel and why do we exist. And the fact that we are working with the IDF, the defender of the state of Israel, we are doing everything and with all the power that we have to explain and to show on the field what are we doing and why this is not right with the volunteers that are coming, and we have a lot of them on the audience that are going back to their community and have the knowledge of discussing and discuss how to fight it.
Okay, so next question. What is the cost of speaking up for each of you, and why is it still worth it? I know for me, one of the things that's been shocking, I thought I was going to start speaking up for Israel and be getting punched in the face every day in New York City. I haven't had one person in 2.5 years ever come up to me in person and say something negative to my face. Now I get death threats in my DMs every day, as I'm sure many of you guys do. It's affected me on dating apps. Like, it's there, but it's usually behind a screen. I'm curious what you guys have felt and, how you combat it and why it's worth pushing through.
It's worth pushing through. So I have lost friends over the last 25 years, and I could care less. Like I tell students, I tell thousands of students every year, thousands, that you're going to lose friends. How many of you lost friends? How many of you? Well, look at you see? We can't care. But how many of you have made new friends?
Yeah.
Right? Great friends and lifelong friends, because really that's the point. So losing friends is bound to happen. Security issues, yes, death threats. So I've had death threats since the beginning of Stand With Us. Funny story. People would tell me they're going to come and kill me, and I would say, thank you very much for your note. I have referred you to the FBI. And I have, and so then I would do this, I would keep doing this, and it stopped. It stopped. I worked with the FBI, I worked with the police.
Wow.
And, I got rid of it. But of course we have security. So that's the third thing. The third thing that we have to do as a community, that I do all the time, is we need to be smart about it. So we do have to, so I'm sure you have a bouncer with you when you do your films, don't you?
Oh my God, 3 security guards.
Okay, so
the biggest black guys you've ever seen.
And Rudy, I'm sure you do too. Hashem is our bouncer. He's the rabbi. Rabbi Rudy has Hashem with him. Okay.
Rudy knows how to use a gun. We all have our ways of
But so I can't speak at a rally anymore without somebody with me, watching my back. And all of our security, just like with the IAC here, thankfully, we've all increased our security. Every Jewish institution has to do that. Yeah. All of our events have to be secured. Even when our students run events, they have to have security. So we have upped that game as we need to and as we should. Because why should we leave ourselves vulnerably? We have to be smart.
Yeah, love that.
I think at this point as a community, we have no other choice. I think that we are fighting right now. It used to be organizations fighting for Israel and the relationship between Israel and America. I think that we're fighting for our kids to be able to live here in America and to say proudly they're Jewish, that they love to Israel, that they just came back from Israel. And I do not think that there's any more choice. It's not like organizations that will deal with it. It's in every place we go right now. And if we don't fight it together as and another thing, I don't think that organizations can do the job alone. I think it's too big.
Right.
I think the only way to fight it is with the community. And the fight is for our life here in America as free, proud Jews, pro-Israel. I don't know what pro-Israel. Israel is part of us. Yeah. It's like you cannot be pro something that is part of you. It's part of us. It's who we are. We can try to separate it, which I think that it's talk about. I think this is Israel is the opportunity. It's not a threat for us. I think that Israel is a sense of power for us. Israel is a sense of strength for us. This panel is about teens. It's about the young generation, students. I think Israel is the solution to build a stronger Jewish identity in America. And I think that we should, as soon as we as a community say that out loud everywhere, I think this is where success will come. And again, the answer is we have no other choice.
I think the question is not what is the cost of not doing something. It's really like what's going to happen if we all do nothing, right? Because individually we might lose something, but collectively if we don't take action and we make as a generation the movement that we need to, the cost is way beyond what an individual experience. I'm going to share another story. When I first started university before transferring to Columbia, I was at UCLA. And I remember Stand With Us was there often. Many organizations were ignoring the problem. Very few people were standing up and actually realizing that it was a problem. And I get to the college campus and I realize that these quote-unquote pro-Palestinian movements, and I say quote-unquote because when it comes to Palestine, Palestinians dying in any other context, they don't talk about their suffering in Gaza, they don't talk about their suffering in refugee camps in Jordan, they don't talk about any other suffering except when it can be cherry-picked and used and manipulated as political ammunition against the Jewish people in Israel. And they were creating coalitions, and going with the black student movement and saying, oh, you suffer from police brutality and racism, we suffer from IDF brutality. Oh, Native Americans, some white people stole your land. Well, the Jews are a bunch of white people who stole our land. And they were creating coalitions. And so I decided to go to the leaders of the communities, the heads of organizations and federations and presidents and rabbis, and I was asking them, what are we doing about this? The only thing that we're doing is going to our Hillels, our Chabads, our Jewish safe spaces, putting some Omer Adam music, having some hummus, and talking about cherry tomatoes, ways, and drip irrigation. What are we actually doing? We need to narrate our story. And I started hearing a response that was too familiar. Why? Because when I did the trip called March of the Living, right before joining the army, I remember that the people in that trip decided to create a packet of letters. And these were letters written by different Jewish leaders in the decade leading to the Holocaust about how anti-Semitism was rising and what they should do about it. And what did I read? Don't worry about it, it'll go away. If you do something, it'll get worse. You even had some Jewish leaders saying that we need to side with Hitler because anyways he's going to get into power, so might as well have a relationship with him.
That's by the way like a lot of Jews in New York right now.
And what did I start hearing from these Jewish organizations and heads of federations? Don't worry about it, go away. If you do something, it'll get worse. It's because of people like you, Rudy, that go out of their way and you're bringing attention to them. And this is the moment that I realized that the question here is not how strong the anti-Israel movement is, but how weak the Israel movement is. How we're not doing something. In my opinion, the only thing that Jews should fear is what happens when Jews begin to fear.
But Rudy, how do we be on, like you're talking about it like we need to be on the offensive more, but like inherently we are on the defense because we're just trying to protect this small little sliver of land that we have and all of our enemies are trying to destroy it. So how do we be on the offense when inherently we're doing a defensive project?
So there's a movement called the Nation of Israel. Anti-Semitism is the counter movement to that movement when it's not doing its job. What we're focused on is countering the counter movement rather than taking our own movement and lifting it up. When you go to a college campus, why are the people narrating the story of Israel, those that are anti-Israel and anti the Jewish people? Do you want to hear about black rights from KKK members? Do you want to hear about women's rights from misogynists? So why are the only people telling our story those that are against us? So it's important that already from the younger generation, even from our institutions, that we raise our kids to be strong, not to be afraid, not just to practice Judaism, but to put Judaism into practice. We have to give them the tools to debate, to have confidence, to stand up, to defend themselves, to know the counter narratives, to actually be able to go out there and to do our job that we're meant to be.
I like that. It's a good answer.
So, as my colleague said, of course, I changed my profile, my social profile, to be private because we receive a lot of rain on our life. We will kill you, what are you doing, fucker, and all that. So this is the first thing that happened. Second thing, I think that every time now that I'm going to a new country, I'm panicking, okay? You know when you are going to pass a border control and they're going to ask you, why are you coming? And when I arrived 3 days ago, okay, even to the US, the nice lady asked me, why are you coming? I'm coming to a conference. Okay, are you coming to a conference because of your work or because you have a personal interest? So it's always an hesitation. Because of my work, what I'm doing, I'm bringing volunteers to the IDF. It's a little bit delicate. We had a case against us in Canada. In the last 2 years, they took us to justice and accused us that we are taking civilians to a foreign army. So we have to fight this case in Canada. We have a case in Switzerland. So we have a lot of legal also issue now that's happening in the last 2 years. So it's really changing all the ways that we are operating and taking a lot of personal prize for me, for my work, and also for my family. Ask my husband.
Amazing. All right, guys, so we got about 15 minutes left, so I'm going to start personalizing some questions more. Let's start with Rudy. All right, so Rudy, you've spoken a lot about the danger of staying stuck in outrage mode, but how do we go from complaint to strategy? What does it actually look like for the Jewish community, especially young Jews, to move from complaining about anti-Semitism to actually shaping solutions that are going to guarantee a free future?
So this question is very based on who we're speaking to. For students, we need to realize that we need to narrate the conversation on college campuses to change the future political and intellectual class of the next generation. That's why universities are so important. They're going to be the people who are going to be politicians, people in media, people in doctors, people in lawyers. They're the ones that are going to change the culture of a society. Now, in general, for Israel, what was the point of creating Israel? Just to have a Jewish safe space, to have a Western country like everyone else with some Magen Davids? Or that's what it's for? Well, if that's what it's for, then the world is not ready for that. The world wants something more. And I think it's time for Israel to realize that it wasn't just to create a safe space. We have a mission statement to heal this world and to elevate it. And until Israel does that fully, all the other nations, all the other groups will always look at Israel and blame us for all the problems that we're not creating because we need to be the source of the solution.
Love that. Okay, so a big question for you, Roz. So you obviously run Stand With Us, probably one of the most massive youth organizations out there combating anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Really impressive. And even I'll say, like, I was, a post-10/7 activist. I thought everybody loved Jews until then. And so your organization was one of the ones that really started popping up immediately. You guys had over 1 million followers, which was really impressive considering the topics you guys are covering, and they're dense topics. So I want to know, how do we unleash youth voices moving into the next decades in a post-October 7th world? Is it social media and making sure that that's a priority? Is it focusing more on college campuses? How do you plan to expand on what you're doing so more young people end up joining the movement?
So, the bad news is that everybody was we built an organization for 25 years.
Yeah.
And then came October 7th. And everything that we built needed to grow like now. Everything was times 10. The kids on high school campuses, they were saying that they were having 100% of them were being taunted by friends and by teachers and really suffering. And people don't even talk about the high school, by the way. They only talk about the college campus. And it's just a mirror. It's a mirror of what you see. So I agree with Rudy. We need to get students prepared, and that's what we do. We prepare students to be able to have these better conversations. We take leaders around the world, mainly in the United States and Canada. Those are our biggest pockets of students in high school and college campuses and even in middle school. And we take little leaders. We take young kids that are already in the trajectory of leadership, and we help them so that their students all around them, their interfaith programs are much better, so that we give them micro grants. We help them legally. And one of the things that all of you can do, because we're going to be talking about what you can do leaving here, is make sure that your kids, your grandkids, that you know that we have these resources. Because that's really where it's at. If everybody says stand alone and they're not in networks, it's very difficult to fight this fight. You're not going to just stand alone. But
you're going to stand with us.
You're going to stand with... But if you know that there is this international network, that there is this U.S. network of students who feel just like you do, whether they're Jewish or not Jewish, that they're going to, that they are your allies and you're not alone, and that you have the backing of people who will come to you and work with you on your campus, in your high school, in your junior high school, so that you're not alone. That really is creating not just the leaders of the moment, but the leaders of tomorrow. These kids are graduating from Stand With Us and going to all kinds of big places you would not even believe, taking leadership roles around the world.
Love that. All right, Shoham, teens in the age of anti-Semitism. How many parents do we have in the room? Yeah? Okay, cool. How many of you guys got divorced? No, I'm kidding. That's my own... I'll talk about that question with my therapist. But how do you cope? What advice do you give to parents who have teenagers, who have, even younger than that? We know anti-Semitism is in elementary school now. Who have kids? How do they prepare their children to be warriors to combat anti-Semitism, knowing that every kid's different, every state's different, every part of the world's different? What's a broad piece of advice you can really give?
I think it's two things. One is priority, second is opportunity. First of all, it's priority. There are many parents that say to the kids, whether you like it or not, you have to take at least one sports elective, right? You have to pick one instrument for music, right? It's important for some parents that their kids will be excelling in academics. So they force them to take academics. The same thing, parents needs to make it priority. That Israel and Jewish identity is a priority in many ways, whether they're choosing Jewish schools or, by the way, there are plenty of organizations. We don't need more organizations.
Do you think that all parents should send their kids to Jewish schools?
I think that if it's possible, but there are many, and I think that it's also impossible to send all the kids, but there are so many organizations, youth movements, there are so many opportunities, and it has to start from very, very, very early stage. We talk about campuses, I feel it's too late. I'll give you an example. My kid, Eitan, I was concerned, as a co-founder of the IC, I didn't know if he's getting an Israeli identity. And then suddenly I figured that when he's playing the video games, the online video games, he chose his name, his 3 Israeli flags. He's 10 years old. And that comes probably because he hears about Israel here, he's going to the Israeli Scouts, he knows what the IC is, he went to celebrate Israel. So for parents, it's a choice. And it's a choice because it's on you, it's on us. Whether we make Israel, Jewish identity a priority from very, very, very young age. Okay, that's one. Second is for us parents to understand there is an opportunity here. As I said before, the biggest pandemic in America is isolation, is the loneliness, is kids getting anxiety and being depressed because they don't know who they are. And this connection to identity, to heritage, this is a gift. This is not about education to be pro-Israel. It's a gift that they wake up in the morning and they know they belong to people, that they are brothers and sisters across this country. And then when they come to Israel, they look around and they say, whoa, we are connected to so many people we don't even know. Where do you know such a great gift that our people have? And the third point is Israel. I believe Israel is a source of power, a source of strength. Israel is a source of strengthening Jewish identity, strengthening the essence of people and peoplehood. And this is how we look at it. And if we speak this language within our community, again and again and again, the magic will happen. So I think that these are the 3 points. Again, priority, opportunity, Israel.
So one thing, though, I'm curious, because I have this about my own kids. I don't have children, future children. But okay, so sending them to Jewish day school, I had the experience of going to Jewish day school for 8 years up until high school. And in some ways, that Jewish day school was the most invaluable experience in my life. But, when I was in 9th grade, I was the only Jew in my high school. I had this huge Jew fro. Kids threw pennies at me. Someone put a ring pop in my Jew fro. But then I got on Disney Channel by the time I was a senior. And all of a sudden, those same bullies, I think it did give them a little more respect. For the Jews, I do, because being that only Jew in a school of non-Jews, they're like, oh, there must be a big Jewish brain under that Jew fro. So, and it goes back to Rudy, too, what he was saying, right? Where, Rudy went to Columbia, and look at that little Goldstein guy. That guy went to the IDF because of that. So what's the balance,
Can you talk about the ring pop in your hair?
Oh, my God. The craziest story, by the way, ever, I started my whole career on YouTube, and I found out about YouTube because someone put a ring pop in my Jew fro at the beginning of freshman year and put it on YouTube, and I was so confused how everybody at school knew about this. It was terrifying. Anyway, more conversations from my therapy. But that's, I think, a really important question, though, right? What is the balance? Because we don't want to ghetto ourselves at the same time.
So first of all, I won't go deeper in that, but if there's something that's happening in school, we should not leave the kids alone. Just like we don't just let them being bullied.
Yeah.
So we have the tools, and the IC has a school watch, and Stand With Us as the mechanism. So first of all, our kids should go to school and should not be discriminated, just like we accept America to accept in schools any other minority. And we need to remember we are also a minority and we have the rights, so that's that. But when we go back to the kids, 2 things. One is role models. Once you give them the identity, then you bring this guy and other influencers. No, seriously. That they can relate to, that they can say, okay, and they can pick and choose. But we need to find role models, we need to find influencers they can feel related to, those that understand what 6-7 means. I don't know. No, seriously, we are a panel of young people, but there are some younger people that talk 6-7, and they should also be spoken with and asked what works for them. And the third thing, I will go back, we're one people. If you're Jewish and you feel like alone somewhere, in your job place, in your school, in your elementary school, in middle school, it's very tough. But when you know you're part of a larger group, that you're part of something much bigger, I think that creates a sense of strength, and that's the biggest help you can get. And belonging,
yeah. Rudy, how do we get more non-Jewish youth to join our cause?
First of all, I want to give a shout out to my parents that are here in the audience. My mom.
Aww.
And my 3 younger brothers who are sitting in front of them.
Well, where are you? Stand up.
Stand up, Rudy's parents. Is your dad the one filming with the glasses?
My dad's the redhead Ashkenaz. My mom is the one in white Sepharad.
Oh, wow. Well, I see they're not divorced.
Third row from the front. Everyone looking all the way in the back. So, when I first started on campuses, I was asking a few people, how could we inspire others to get them to join something, to get them to be activated? And I heard something that I think has a lot of wisdom to it. He asked me, do you have a favorite sports team? I said, well, I grew up in Miami, so Miami Heat, basketball. He's like, great. When the Miami Heat are winning, everyone's wearing the jerseys, everyone's going to the games, everyone's posting, everyone's talking about it. But when the Miami Heat aren't winning, nobody's really sharing anything, no one's wearing jerseys, only a few people are going to the games. You have to make Israel a winning team. You have to make Israel something more than just we're here to defend and we're here to talk about shallow accomplishments. It has to be something much deeper. And we also have to understand that at the end of the day, these anti-Semites, these are Hashem's bots being sent to us to wake something up within us. Today's parasha this week, we talk about the plagues that we had. We had 10 plagues in Egypt. Why do we have 10 plagues? Hashem could have lifted us out of Egypt, taken out. He hardened Pharaoh's heart. He made Pharaoh sure that he's not going to get us out of Egypt. Why? So that we would experience these things, so that we would be released of slavery that we were in, not just physically, but mentally. So all these anti-Semites that are coming against us, it's to wake something up within us. The world is waiting for us to stand up. And in the meantime, all we're doing is bragging about little things and our little shtetls and our little communities. And it's time that we open the door, we go out to the world, and we bring light like we were meant to be.
Can I say something about
Roz, you wanted to piggyback?
Yeah, very important question about bringing in interfaith programming. We need to do this deliberately. This is a great idea, but it can't just be an idea. We have Christian Emersons that we work with. We have Hindu programs that we partner with. It has to be intentional in this moment, because there are people out there that love the Jewish people. And we need to make sure that we're doing that kind of outreach, not just as a concept, but literally intentionally. So like every good organization, like IAC, Stand With Us, they need to be intentional and maybe target, let's do 3 events every single year that are big, that are interfaith. Let's do it on purpose, because this is that moment. We've got to bring in that collaboration.
We need to have more interfaith bar mitzvahs on campus. All right, so Keren, let's end with you, and then I think everybody can piggyback and kind of give their closing remarks as well. So Keren, you are an expert on mobilization. So tell us just a little bit of a closing remark about how we actually mobilize people towards a single mission. And then everybody afterwards, if you could just go and just end on, there's a lot of doom and gloom in the world right now and in the Jewish community. I'd love to just end on some encouragement of hope and actual action items that people can do to give themselves hope. So let's start with Keren, and then we'll go down the line.
Sorel is the best example for mobilizing people.
Can you say that again?
Since October 7, we brought 70,000 people to Israel. It's huge. From an organization that used to bring between 3,000 to 4,000 people every year, we passed to 70,000. 40% of them are not Jewish. More than 50% are coming twice a year to volunteer, like doing miluim. And the reason why we are so successful, first of all, we are not doing a lot of noise. I think that people don't want to hear word and just talk and talk and talk. They are just enough of talking. Everybody is talking. It's time for action. And this is exactly what are we doing. Our slogan is Zionism in action, a movement of words like pro-Palestine and everything need to be answered by action, not by speaking, explanation. We done it. It didn't work. It's time now to take action, to come to Israel and to volunteer. And if you cannot volunteer, this is time to go to your community, be an ambassador, and organize things, and just take action. This is the success of the world. We are not an organization that speaks a lot, because we don't need to speak, we just do.
So you asked two things, something inspiring and positive, and also a message that
Yep.
people can take to be empowered. So I think a lot of people are involved with a lot of beautiful things, especially at this conference. I'll share something that is going to be a revolution in our generation that we have yet to talk about. Today, 16 million Jews around the world in Israel and in the diaspora are the descendants of 2.5 tribes, Yehuda, Binyamin, and half of Levi. Half of my tribe exists, the other half is out there. Where's Zvulun, Issachar, Gad, Asher, Reuven? We are many tribes, and it says in the Torah that in the times of Mashiach, the tribes of Israel reunite from the four corners of the earth. So we know at some point there's going to be a reunification of these people, and it's happening in our generation. In Africa, in Asia, in South America, there are tens of millions of people who are identifying as Jews, who descend from the Jewish people, who practice Torah, who want to join the army in Israel. And once we bring them back, first of all, consciously, and then eventually, physically, we will see a revolution within our time where 50 million Jews will return back to the land of Israel, and Israel will look not like anything else that we've ever seen. And we're bringing back all the pieces of the car so that the car can actually drive to its destination where we need to get to. In terms of empowerment, all of us have different skills. All of us have different passions. And there's a reason for that. If everyone was doing the same thing, then there'd be a lot of things that needed to be done that wouldn't get done. Every single person here has to ask themselves the question, at least once a year. I ask myself every single day, what are the problems that you see? What are the skills that you have? What are the skills that you can work on yourself in order to get? And how do you use that to fix the problems that you have in front of you? If every one of us was trying to correct the problems that we see, that Hashem specifically put our eyes in a way that would recognize those problems and gave us those skills specifically for us to correct the situations and gave us the ability to work. You know, I was born in France, moved to Israel, then moved to Miami. No one speaks English in Miami. I never was able to master a language until I had to work on myself. I'm an introvert. I don't like to go in public, but I have to work on myself in order to do, and I had to become a good public speaker. So even if you don't have skills, it doesn't mean you can't work on yourself to become better. Focus on using what you have, becoming better, and fixing the problems that you see in front of you.
So what makes me optimistic? First, my kids. You know, it's always you look at the future, and I believe there is a change. What makes me optimistic is this conference, 4,000 people coming together to celebrate Israel with great pride. What makes me very optimistic is listening here to some organizations that have been growing for the past 2 years. And for, I just learned, I don't know if Ben is still here, but he represents Tel Aviv University, and he claims that the donations from here to universities in Israel and hospitals doubled. And I think that what makes me optimistic is this crowd, is this audience. I believe that if we go out here, we and the rest of the Jewish community together, we can change the future, and we have, it's not like something external, it's within our power. What we need to do. So since this is about the next generation, I leave you with one task, is when you go home, look again and say, okay, what do I do? Actually, two tasks. What do I do with my kids? To what kind of Jewish youth organizations I can send them, or school, or can I send to a leadership workshop in STEM with us, or to be part of IIC programs, or the many great Jewish organizations that are out there, and they exist and we invested in them. So that's one. Second is what you can do. Because again, we do not have a choice right now. If we don't become active, if we don't become active right now to speak on behalf of the Jewish people in Israel, it will be very tough to live here. And the great luck that we have, that it comes together with the fact that we can be, and we are proud Americans. and the shared values between America and Israel helps us to be very proud Americans, very proud pro-Israelis, Israeli Americans, Jewish Americans. So see what you can do with your kids, just like anything else. Make it a priority. Look at their future, how you imagine them going to college campus, how you imagine them, what kind of identity they have, how they speak about Israel when they're not at home. And second, take action, do something. It's the time.
So, in your lives, when you're faced with a crisis, and it's even very, very difficult time, there's always an opportunity. So, even in the worst of times, there are opportunities. You know, Shoham talked about not rejecting Israel, but embracing Israel. Of course, that is a very, very important concept to teach the people around you. What gives me hope is the rising numbers of students that are coming to us. If you take a look at our numbers and what these kids actually accomplish on their campuses and in their high schools is crazy. I just got some campus numbers the other day. We had, since August to the end of December, we had 600 different events in the United States. 600 Stand With Us led events on the campuses. I asked just our campus staff, so how does that translate? How many students actually came to you and were inspired and participated? And the numbers were over 50,000 students that came to participate in those 600 events. So that gives me inspiration. There are things happening, even when it sounds like it's quiet and just threatening. There are things happening. What you can do. I think that you can all of us can become better educators. How do you do that? All of it is on our website. I encourage you to take a look at Stand With Us materials. We really produce a lot of things in a lot of different languages. Look at just pocket facts, or look at just answering difficult questions about Israel. Take it to yourself and share it with a friend. These are things that you can do so easily. It's free, it's easy. Repost things that are great that you see on the internet. How many of you are on social media? How many? Enough of you. So, what are you doing to repost good content? Don't be wasting your time arguing with some idiot. Repost amazing content. It's free to do that. Take a look at Stand With Us. Follow these guys right here. Follow all of us. And repost the good content that we put up. It's free and easy. Do it 5 times a day. 5 times a day. Also, one more thing and then I'm out. Learn to write a letter to the editor. Don't be emotional. Don't be crazy angry. You won't get printed. Practice writing and giving 1 or 2 facts and write a letter to the editor. Use our materials. Get 1 fact in there because they're leaving out everything. Thank you very much.